business economics. How would you solve the problem of a national global collapse? If you were a world leader, what would you do? If the population ballooned to the point that there was not enough food to feed everyone. Now, you could go the Founders Day way, right, and institute a purge, or you could do the Humane thing and just institutionalize a euthanasia program. And that's what I'm here to talk about, this little gem right here. I gotta say, it's been an interesting year for me and video on demand releases. I found a ton of movies that I feel like are really sleeper hits over here. Over on the good old Amazon, right? All right, so let me talk about the movie Humane, which, if you guys didn't know, this is directed by Kathleen Cronenberg. Now, who's Kathleen Cronenberg, you might add? Well, David Cronenberg has a daughter. Now, if you guys haven't been following, Brandon Cronenberg, David Cronenberg's son, has had some considerable luck breaking into the horror movie scene. He's made a lot of great movies as of late. And he's had a lot of breakout hits. That's David Cronenberg. Now, Kathleen Cronenberg is Dave Cronenberg's daughter, and this is her first directorial debut. She is a cinematographer for the most part. So this is her shot at a movie. And I gotta say, not a bad attempt. Now, this movie is highly political, but I give Cronenberg a pass because if you've ever watched a Dave Cronenberg movie, there are a lot of themes. Now, Dave Cronenberg back in the day dealt with a lot on violence and the nature of human beings and how violent they are. Some of his stuff had weird body horror, violence, and hyper pseudo-sexualism kind of violence. Dave Cronenberg is one of my favorite body horror directors, probably of all time. So I went into this super hopeful. Now, this movie isn't what you would call a masterpiece per se. This isn't going to get any awards, but what it is a interesting premise and highly entertaining. So what is the premise of this movie, Humane? Humane takes place over one day and mere months after a global ecological collapse has forced world leaders to take the extreme measure to reduce the Earth's population. A recently retired newsman enlists the nation's new euthanasia program. So basically, they go from house to house and they euthanize a member to whatever the count needs to be to make things balanced. Now, this on its own is a very intriguing concept. It's not hyper political as I thought it was going to be, thank goodness, because the politics isn't really the point of this movie. The point is asking, is this humane in order to save the many, forcing people to choose who within their family is going to sacrifice themselves for essentially other people they never met. And I find this fascinating. I think just the premise alone is very intriguing. Now, what makes this movie slightly interesting is the casting. We have Jay Baruchel, who Jonathan Adam Sanders Baruchel, if you don't know. He's known for How to Train Your Dragon, Knocked Up, Tropic Thunder, Fanboys. You know his face if you've seen him. We have Emily Hampshire, who who was in 12 Monkeys, a bunch of other stuff. We have Peter Gallagher. If you guys don't know who that is, he is old-time actor in just about everything. You have, let me see, Enrico Colantine, who is really super. If you've seen his face, you know where he's from. So, anyways, the question this movie is posing is there a humane way to decide who lives and who dies? The thing I like about this movie too is this movie is not shot from like The Purge or whatever kind of perspective. This is a rich family that basically so the opening of the movie, and remember this isn't spoilers, so I'm going to give you a vague idea, but the opening of this movie is this richest kind of richy family, and in particular the person, I'm just going to say the guy who voices Toothless, because y'all know, Jay, we'll say Jay. He is a guy who pushes this initiative to euthanize a certain percentage. But when he's asked to do it himself, they basically are getting ready to sacrifice his sister, and she fucking dips on them and says, I'm not doing it, and leaves them a note, which leaves people in this house who have to choose who is going to get euthanized in order to meet this quota, because the government, now that this is a policy, does not care. They want one person dead in this particular household. And that's a fucking very intriguing concept. It's a very interesting premise. Now, the acting is decent enough for a movie like this. The cinematography is okay, but this isn't a movie that really thrives off of, let's say, cinematography or even super strong acting. I think a lot of this movie is based off of its premise and whether or not that will interest you, and really certain performances. The dude who plays Bob, Enrico Colantano, you'll know him when you see him. He's in a lot of shows. Dude is hilarious. The thing that I like about this too, and maybe it's just my sense of humor. Hey, Colonel, good to see you. I like the fact that this takes a very matter-of-fact approach to the subject of humanely euthanizing somebody. And I think the overall resolution to this is very interesting. I think Kathleen Cronenberg has an eye in particular for certain cinematic shots. She does come from a photography background. So a lot of the different shots, some of them are really interesting. There's a lot of like super creepy shots in this movie. But for the most part, unlike Dave Cronenberg, she does not tend to really lean on the body horror, or even Brandon Cronenberg, her brother. Brandon and Dave Cronenberg are cut from the same cloth. If you've seen like Rabbit or the other ones that or Possessor, David Cronenberg and Brandon Cronenberg, you could tell they're father and son. Kathleen Cronenberg takes a more, God, I hope I don't come off as sexist when I say this, but a more ladylike approach to the horror. What I mean by that is the violence somehow feels very elegant in this. The questions that she's answering in this movie, or asking in this movie, are, I would say, thought-provoking in a different way. And the way she approaches this material is more through satire. Now, if you've sat through David Cronenberg or Brandon Cronenberg movies, he does have some satire there if you have a really fucking sick sense of humor, but theirs is more of a blunt, brutal. It has a message in there, but he like delivers it to you with a sledgehammer called violence and gore. This is more of a meditative piece, and the violence and gore just kind of add flavor. And I appreciate that. I like the fact that you can look at each generation of Cronenbergs and they all have a unique style and format that seems to be their own. And what's up, Carmen? Good to see you. Just doing my review for Humane, a new movie I discovered. So, anyways, my overall thoughts of this movie. This movie is a 8 because of the fact that I find it highly unique. This movie is very unique, but there's a slight caveat. This is not, even in independent film standards, the highest of quality productions. I'm mostly grading this, high as it is, on its premise and how much I enjoyed it. I laughed a lot during this movie, and it is a sick fucking idea. But the way she delivers this concept with the characters, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I think it's very hard to balance like disgusting violence, but make your audience also laugh at the same time because your premise is so batshit crazy. I think that's something that his daughter does extremely well. And I really look forward to Kathleen Cronenberg's next movie. I think this is a great first film. And this has been a fuck of a year for horror. So go me. I wasn't even trying to find this. This is now on Amazon. You can rent it for, I think, like $3. Let me check here. I think it was like $3. And it was worth the rental. I mean, oh yeah, like $6. You can own it for like 15. I would more rent it before you go and buy it, see if it's something that you like, but it's definitely worth the rental. I do not regret the $7 rental. Now, would I own it? I want to see her do a second attempt, but I don't regret watching it. And it's definitely better shot than I thought it would be. Granted, it is mostly shot in one location, so this was a good first movie. I think that her directing style is very good. I think she has a very unique vision. The writer and producer of this was Michael Spragel. I think his writing was pretty interesting. And I think the actors and actresses did a great job. This has a lot of comedic actors and actresses, so the comedic timing is very on cue. These are like veterans that you have seen before. You've seen them in TV shows or other smaller movies. So that also makes the low budget actually not really feel that low budget because these guys are used to working on smaller projects. So I think this is a great cast. I think this is a good first movie, and I'd say give it a try. A subtle comedy noir. Yes, Carmel. I would say it's really intriguing because it is not exactly a horror, not exactly a comedy or even a black comedy because, well, yeah, there's some dark humor, and the question the movie is posing within itself is kind of a ridiculous, humorous thing, but I would also say that it's still got enough of a light tone to where it just doesn't meet the black comedy or dark humor halfway. It stays a little bit lighter. It stays just light enough where it doesn't quite make a black comedy label. So yeah, I think that's a great. I think that's a great title for it. It's a comedy noir. It's definitely dealing with dark subject matter, but it's also hilarious enough that it's not too bleak. And that's where I would leave this. Check out the movie Humane. You can watch it on Amazon. It did have a couple of theaters that it hit, but only in Canada and like 3 in the United States, which isn't bad. And once again, this is from IFC Films. I think they're on a roll. The last IFC movie I watched was another banger. That was what was it? Late Night with the Devil was produced by IFC, but is distributed through Shudder. So once again, IFC is just knocking it out of the park this year. IFC Films has always been consistent, and this year seems to be no different. So good for them. A24 following right behind them. So it's a great year to be a horror fan. Thank you very much for watching this. If you like this video, click that like button, share, subscribe, all the YouTube things. And tell me, have you seen Humane? If you haven't seen Humane, what's your favorite David Cronenberg or Brandon Cronenberg movie? Let me know in the comments down below. Me personally, I gotta go with the classics. I love Videodrome. So I mean, that to me is one of the best performances in a horror movie ever. I know some people like it, some people hate it. It's like one of the most controversial movies of all time. So yeah, but what's your favorite David Cronenberg movie? Or it doesn't even have to be. Do you like Brandon Cronenberg? Do you just not like that? So what's your favorite horror movie in general? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm really appreciating doing these kind of quick things. If I have an annoying glare, it's like the light of Jesus Christ has shined in here, and it is just shining across my face. So I do apologize for the glare. But anyways, thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the shiniest zone ever. Kneel before General Zod.